Okay, so digital scripture journaling. I'm so excited. I love digital scripture journaling. I'm so excited to share this. So before I tell you the basics of how we're going to do this with your iPad and your Apple Pencil and everything else, I want to tell you why I love digital scripture journaling. So I love just physical cutting out and gluing and, writing pen on paper. There's something very therapeutic about that you don't get when you do things digitally. So there's different times in my life when I do different things. The thing I love about digital scripture journaling is it's so simple. You don't have to have all these colored pens on your desk. You don't even have to sit at a desk. One of the reasons why I started digital scripture journaling is because I have major back issues. And at the time it was really hard for me to sit. Anyone who's had your back go out or disc issues knows the pain that comes from sitting. And so with digital scripture journaling, I could lay in my bed and totally scripture journal it up on my iPad. Easy. And so that's why I started the digital. When that Apple iPad Pro came out for the first time with the Apple Pencil, yes, I'm a nerd. I ran down there and that's what I got for my birthday, and I bought it for the sole intent for scripture journaling, because for the first time in my life, I could actually digitally kind of do what I was doing on paper. The Apple Pencil was amazing for me because I could finally write on an iPad like I did kind of like on paper. So because of that, I've spent hours and hours and days experimenting and finding ways to make digital scripture journaling super fun. So I'm going to share with you some of the things that I've done. So you'll need an iPad and a stylus. I highly recommend the Apple Pencil, obviously, but I know that it's an expensive device. But you also have to realize, if you don't already have an iPad, obviously maybe you don't want to be doing the digital scripture journaling. And this is for people who already love doing things digitally. But the Apple, you have to remember, when you do scripture journaling with paper and stickers, like all those things cost money. So buying an Apple Pencil or some kind of high quality stylus, yeah, it's an investment, but I can drop that much money easily. Washi tape and paper and stickers, and you know what I'm trying to say. So anyway, this is actually looks like an Apple Pencil, but it's not. It's an Apple Pencil knockoff that I got on Amazon. I'll put the link in the video, below the video. I got these from my kids when we were doing homeschool, and they had PDF sheets that they had to do on their iPads. But it's a lot less money, and I love it. It works great. It's not going to be probably the quality of the Apple Pencil. It doesn't have the pressure sensor at the bottom, but for someone who just wants to write on a PDF file, these work great. So if you want something a little bit cheaper, you can use something like that. You kind of just have to experiment, do what you want to do. But so I have made a video of some of my digital journaling pages, and also to show as a tutorial to show you how to do some. I think today we're just going to focus mostly on how to digitally scripture journal in your conference ensign, because those are scriptures too. And once you know how to do that, you can do it with most anything. But so here we go. Okay, so I've added a few of my digital scripture journaling pages so that you can kind of see what you can do with digital scripture journaling. Most of these are general conference talks from my general conference ensign on my iPad. But as you can see, you can do some of the same things you can do if you have the actual physical ensign, but on your iPad instead. So it's actually really fun. And I love it because you can actually turn your general conference PDF file after you're done marking it up and just studying it into a book, an iBook. So you can actually save it to refer back to later. Okay, so these are just some of my normal scripture journaling pages from digital scripture journaling. As you can see, it just depends on the day and what trials I'm dealing with. And the great thing about digital scripture journaling is you can import pictures from your device, from online, from the church website. And it's a lot easier than having to actually cut and paste. That was a picture my daughter drew for me that I really wanted to include. But as you can see, I am not like a professional artist. This one I loved because I imported a Facebook post that meant a lot to me, which is something you can do. It's just a lot easier to import things into your journal without having to actually physically cut and paste. But it's just fun. There's just so many things you can do with scripture journaling. And this next page is actually an article I read in the Ensign that inspired me. And so I was able to just very quickly import those pictures and add my thoughts. Okay, the first thing you'll want to do is go to your app store and find a PDF app, a place where you can import PDF files and write on them, do annotations. So my favorite is GoodNotes. But Notability, Nebo are also both very good applications, but just find one that you love that you can import PDF files. Here's GoodNotes. I love that I can store them in files and make my own notebooks. You can see I've got my scripture journaling notebook on there and lots of other things. I just love how I can, this is my scripture journaling notebook, so it allows you to look at all the pages in like a grid view, which I love because I can find my pages very, very quickly. So this is just some of the pages I've done in the past year. Here's another example of one that I've done. And another one I think I've already shown this one in previous film, but this was a day when I was going through anxiety, depletion, depression. So it's just wonderful things to look back on and remember, especially when you're searching for answers to your questions. I just love to be able to look back on all of these and see the inspiration that I was able to get during hard times or during just times when I had questions I needed answered. And here's this one again. Sorry for the repeat. But once again, I'm not an artist, but you can see you just learn how to doodle and put your feelings on paper. But I love that you can do it digitally with an Apple Pencil, right? So here we are on the church website. You can find the magazines, and if you click on Liahona, this is the website, not the app on your phone. You can find the version you want. We are going to find the General Conference version, the latest one, October of 2020. And then if you look, there's a button over there that allows you to download over there on the right top. And you want to download the entire book, PDF. And if you have GoodNotes or another PDF app, it'll give you the option. First, it will load the entire PDF book, and we're going to pause it here so you don't have to wait. Okay, so here's what it looks like after it loads. You now have the PDF version of your conference edition. You can do this with any of the latest Liahona magazines, but I love doing it with the General Conference edition for my scripture study. So then you would open it in GoodNotes or whichever PDF app you've installed. I have a folder for General Conference, so I'm going to add it there. And now you've got your General Conference edition on your tablet. I'll show you a little bit of what you can do. Love it, love it, love it. Because now I can not only read my Ensign, I can mark it all up on my tablet and really study it deep and write my thoughts in all the little spaces and crevices. So this is just a sample page just to show you a few things you can do. You want to make sure your Apple Pencil is turned on or whatever device stylus you have. I mean, you really can use your finger if you're just highlighting. But if you're wanting to really write your thoughts on these pages, you're really going to want a fine-tipped stylus, like an Apple Pencil or something similar, so that you really get that pen on page feeling as much as possible. Otherwise you will get frustrated, I promise. There's a thin line, example of a thin line. And there's a medium size line. Some of you are probably like, this is dumb, I can do this on my own. There's a thicker line. This is digital scripture journaling for dummies. Everyone's at their own stage. So I love the fact that you can highlight in a straight line. And what I mean by this is if you're just highlighting in your ensign, your physical paper ensign, it's hard to keep a straight line unless you have a ruler. But with GoodNotes, you can click on the option for a straight line. So no matter how crooked your lines are, after you stop highlighting, it straightens it for you. So you will always have straight highlighting, for those of us who are OCD and care about those kind of things. And I love that you can change the color of your highlighter, all different shades, and it doesn't require pens on your desk, right? Buy a bunch of new pens. You can zoom in on it. I like to find specific phrases that stand out to me in conference talks, and I've actually color-coded it. So, if it's a quote from a general authority in another general authority's talk, I'll use purple. If it's like a scripture they're quoting, I use yellow. It's always good to have kind of a way of doing things so that they stand out to you when you go back to read them. And then I will underline them in pen sometimes if I really want it to stand out. And then write some notes. Obviously, this is just an example of something that you can do. Write some notes. Use up all those margins. I really, really wish we had a PDF scripture journaling version of General Conference. I'm hoping that will come someday. Now I'm going to show you how you can go back and forth. So you can have several books open in GoodNotes at the same time. This is the January Liahona that I have downloaded the PDF version of. And I really loved this talk by President Nelson in the front of the Liahona. So I'm going to actually use the cutting tool, which is just this dotted line up at the top. You can see. And I'm going to digitally cut out a portion of this picture that I really love from the ensign that I have a PDF copy of on here. Then I'm going to copy it. And it's very easy. Then I switch back to my scripture journal book that I am on. And I'm adding a new page. So this is just an example of what you could do for a scripture journaling page. You want to put all your thoughts on one page, but you might be studying the Liahona and also your Come Follow Me manual and lots of different PDF books, but you can have them all there in different tabs. This shows you how you can change the paper. So now my paper's lined, very easy to do. Lots of different, you can do dot grid, graph paper, and you can change it at any time in the background. But I love how I can have all those different books open. So I can go back and forth between the Liahona, between the conference edition of the Liahona, between the Come Follow Me manual, anything I want to have open. And as I'm reading and studying and I come across a thought, I can just cut it and paste it into my scripture journaling page for the day and keep all of my thoughts in one place. It just is really nice because you'll find when you're scripture journaling, sometimes when you're really diving deep and finding all kinds of treasures, one scripture leads to another. Pretty soon you're in a general conference talk, which might lead to another. And when you're doing this digitally, you can have all these windows open and just grab all of these different quotes and texts and put them all in one page, so that when you go back and read your scripture journal, you'll have all your thoughts together. I love it, love it, love it. If you're doing this in a paper notebook, non-digitally, obviously it's going to take a lot more time to grab all these resources and put it in a page. It's still totally doable. I do both. Love both. It just depends on where you're at in your life and what you love to do. So I love GoodNotes will let you put a background behind your quotes. You can choose any color. You can put a box around it. Some of this is just basic knowledge for those of you who have been on Word or any other software like that. I can't think straight today, but you know what I mean. Basically, just your basic copy and pasting and changing fonts. Now back to the January Liahona. I love this quote at the top, so I'm going to cut it, paste it on here. So you can either highlight a quote and just paste the words in, like I did on this quote, or you can cut the entire quote on like I did in the bottom corner so that you get the background and any graphics or pictures that you want to. And then I'm writing with my Apple Pen, just as an example how you can write by hand or you can type. I love doing all of the above because it just makes it mine. This is the Come Follow Me manual for this week. I'll put a link to the PDF version of that. I love this picture, so I'm going to cut a piece of this picture out and put it in here. So you see how everything just comes together. You can study so many different things all at once and just very quickly put them all in your digital scripture journal. And then add your own notes and inspiration that comes from the Spirit. So you have the quotes from the prophets that stand out. You have pictures that make this page look beautiful so that it stands out in your memory when you want to remember it later. And then as the Spirit speaks to you while you are doing this, you can write your notes. And the Spirit will speak to you if your heart is in it and you are diligently searching. It's wonderful. Scripture journaling helps you to slow down so that the Spirit can get in there and speak to you. Love it. That's just a very simplified version. You can be very artistic or not. So did you see how I did that? I drug the Gospel Library app. I long pressed on it and drug it up there on the side. So you can do side by side. This is really amazing. So you can look up a scripture or a talk in the Gospel Library, highlight it, copy it, then go right back to your journal, paste it in. It's just quick and easy, and you've got it all right there. And that's the basics of digital scripture journaling for General Conference edition of the Ensign, and any other PDF file that you would like to put on your iPad. I'm going to show you how to turn it into a book. So you're going to click Export All, because this is all of my scripture journaling pages on this notebook. Click PDF. It's going to export this scripture journaling notebook that I have been doing, because I didn't just do this page, I did the whole notebook. And it's giving you options of where you want to send it. So if you go over, you will see you can click iBooks. Notice there was also the option for Kindle. So now I have my scripture notebook in iBooks, a PDF version that I can read at any time. Amazing, right? Here's my scripture journal. It's now a digital book that I can refer back to at any time. And here are just, once again, these are all the pages in that scripture journaling notebook I just added to iBooks. And this is my General Conference book that I made several years ago. And you can see it has all the pages that I wrote in my General Conference Ensign at the time. Now Liahona, but it was Ensign at the time. And I love, because it's a PDF copy, you can add your own pages. Look, I have an index. I added that myself. And see how I highlight each talk as I read it, so I know where I'm at and what I've read. And I've got a little color code up there in the top that I like to use, so I know what I'm highlighting and what color. It's up to you what you want to do. And you see all these pages I love that you can insert blank pages, or like for instance, I got some pages from Redheaded Hostess. She had some beautiful pages for doing more reflection on scripture journaling. You can insert blank pages in and make it your own. All right, y'all, that's it for today. Thanks for listening.